What's going on, everybody? This is episode 2 of season 3, Multifamily Mentors. I have some incredible guests here. We went to dinner last night, spent the morning with them, and we've been going over some incredible things. My mind is blown. My mind has been completely blown on how you guys do real estate. So I'm super excited to have you guys here. A little background, Cody and Christian from the Northwest United States, Washington. They own $20 million in real estate with zero bank debt. Let me say that again. $20 million in real estate, zero bank debt, millionaire at 22 and 29, and have been partners for over a year now. Cody owns the award for the #1 podcast on BiggerPockets, close to 1 million views. Mm-hmm. That's 400,000 more than Robert Kiyosaki. So Rich Dad, Poor Dad, you can suck it. We got Cody here. He's got the #1 show from the podcast on BiggerPockets. So we're super excited to have you. Multifamily Mentors. This is what we talk about here is multifamily. We interview the top operators and investors from around the country that are rising stars, right? So most people may have not heard of what you guys have done or how you guys are doing it. And it's to educate, motivate, inspire the next generation. So I've learned a ton, right? The name of my company's Value Add Real Estate. And you guys are definitely adding value today. So I'm super excited to have you guys here. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having us. We really appreciate the invite. It's been a long, open dialogue and really excited to be here.
Yeah, awesome being here. Thanks for having us on.
Yeah, it's going to be really good. So let's jump right into it. I mean, in the current market, so many people are struggling to get deals done, right? We were just talking about banks, right? I'm supposed to close a deal in 7 days. And I don't even have a final bank term sheet, right? It's like pulling teeth to get a bank just to do what they said they were going to do. So deals are getting blown up. Valuations don't make sense. Debt is rising at maybe the most aggressive rate it's ever risen in the history of the United States, right? 300 or 400 basis points in the last 150 days. It's insane, right? So people are struggling to get deals done. You guys know how to get almost any deal done in any market at any price through creative financing, right? Creative financing, it's kind of like a new term for me, at least. Like I'm not, I'm kind of more old school, like always have a bank loan or a private money lender or something like that. So let's start out. Define for me 3 things. Define for me creative financing.
Yeah, let's start out with what it's not, because most people don't know what it's not. And so you've got this box of what a bank will actually give you, what everybody's doing. So anything outside that box is going to be creative, and anything inside the box is not. Meaning if you're going to get a bank loan, or you're just going to go out and try and take it out with hard money, like, cool, everybody does that. There's nothing creative about that.
Mm-hmm. And in that box, you can only really negotiate price because you have an appraisal that's due with the bank. So if you're doing conventional financing, you're stuck on, I need to get my price. If you throw the bank out and you don't need that appraisal anymore, well, now their price is back on the table. If they want us to overpay for a property, but we get excellent terms, we can absolutely do that. As a ridiculous example, say it's $1 million property and they want $2 million for it. Like appraisal would come in at $1 million.
That's gross.
Yeah. That's so do you massively overpay for it? If I could get 50-year debt that, say like 1% interest and it cash flow positive day one, I'm going to say that $1 million property will be worth $2 million 50 years from now. I would do that deal.
And even if it's not, if you can do zero down and cash flow for 50 years, I'm going to say it'll be fine.
Right. So to summarize this, I mean, this is very, out of the box, to use your analogy, out of the box way to look at real estate, right? Most people are really focused on the price. Something's on the MLS and it's for $1 million and interest rates are going up. Everyone's like, I'm only paying 800. So it sits there, right? And what you guys are saying is, I'll give you your price, but give me the terms. As long as I get the terms I need on the debt, I can make any deal work if I have the right terms for debt.
And that's a super gross example, but it's made to just make a point that your loan to value doesn't matter unless you have to get new debt. And the only time you have to get new debt is if you're cash flow negative or you have a balloon. Like that's it, because you can't bleed forever. And if you have a balloon where your debt's due, your LTV matters a lot, because who's going to give you the next debt? That's it.
That's 100% right? When you're dealing with a bank or a private money or hard money lender, there's a finite period of time they want the money out because they want to redeploy it. Mm-hmm. And so that is when you have a gun to your head and the value really matters. But if you don't have those terms from a bank or an institution, and it's just a seller, right? If it's a seller or a private individual or a real estate contract, then you don't have that gun to your head and you can go into perpetuity to make up for the price.
Well, then you're just two parties just coming up with an agreement. Everything is made up. The price is one of many negotiable terms. You have price, interest rate, balloon, special clauses, which you can get really crazy in. But whatever all parties agree on, you can do. And that's essentially what creative finance is let's throw out the rule book and let's just meet as two parties and figure out how you hit everyone's objectives. And that's the creative piece.
Right. And anything is possible. So what it's not, right? Let's go to the things it's not. It's not cash, right? It's not your own cash, right? So creative financing is not your own cash. It's not bank financing, and it's not hard money.
Yeah. You're not looking at traditional loan products.
Right. So those are the three things it's not, right? And it can be anything outside of that is what creative financing can be.
Yeah.
And solving for what it is just figuring out, okay, what is the correct debt and equity structure to take down a piece of real estate? And you don't solve for that before you find the real estate. It's all real estate specific. It's what keeps it creative. Real estate's an imperfect market. Nobody knows everything at the same level of all the other players in the space. And so if you have competitive advantage because you know how to structure creative deals, you can take advantage of an imperfect market. You have a perfect market like the stock market. You can do the same market research as the person next to you. You can't do that in real estate. And it gives you that advantage of if you know how to structure different debt structures, you can buy real estate without any money. But it just comes down to you find the deal and then you structure the debt. And if you can't get 100% debt, you structure the equity.
And it's always in that order. It's deal first because you're going to customize your debt and equity to the deal. So we're not raising capital before we have a deal because I don't know what debt structure or what partners make sense.
So it's the deal first. You guys always start with the deal.
Always.
Right? And this is how you're able to do $20 million in assets, right? $20 million in multifamily real estate with zero bank debt is this way. Is you find the deal, you find the seller, and then you solve for what's needed to get cash flow so we never have to let it go.
And that's just math, but that's the acquisition strategy. But we're not asking people to sell. Like we're not just targeting deals. We're trying to meet with owners to learn how they got to where they're at. And we use that strategy to take down opportunities when they come up.
Yeah, if you're trying to learn the game, there's literally no one who knows how to teach you better how to buy in your market than the people who've already bought your market. A lot of people will try to go to a million conferences, read every book on it. There's no one out there outside your market who is better qualified than the person who's done exactly what you want to do.
So let's transition to that because I think this is one of the things that that's refreshing about your strategy, right? So let's talk about, so you guys know, so creative financing, we defined it, right? So now let's talk about your strategy and your mentality when you are trying to find deals, right? Most people are burning people up and saying, will you sell? Will you sell? Will you sell? Can I send you an offer? What's your number, right? That's what everyone wants to know. So talk to me about how you guys have gone about sourcing your deals, right? Because I think it's very creative and there's a lot of application for people out there.
Well, we find everything on Google Maps and we find the big roofs, aerial view. The goal is to see, okay, where's the big real estate? Because the big real estate's more likely to be an apartment complex than a house. That was the philosophy when I got started.
Right.
Call them up, learn how they got to where they're at, try and book a meeting. They're always going to say, well, I'm not selling. I don't know how I'd buy it. Don't have any money. It's just that simple. But the goal is to share enough relatable points to book a coffee meeting because relatability, your past gets you to the table. Once you get in person, you share goals because goals get people to work with you. And then the reason behind those goals determines how far they'll help carry you forward.
Yeah. So breaking that down, right? And you have an excellent story about this with one of your properties. But, the thing that Cody just said that I want to unpack that I think is super powerful is, when you're talking to people, you're not saying, hey, I want to buy it. And when you say, hey, I don't even have any money to buy it, I just want to get some advice. I think that's one of the most disarming things that anybody could say, right? When you actually lead with that kind of transparency, and obviously you have money, right? But just setting the expectation and just taking that off the table of, hey, I have no money. I just want to hear your story.
Well, in the beginning, I had no money.
Right. When you started, you had $3,000, right?
And the thing is, you always lead with where you're at. Like my conversations with people look a little different than they did when I started because I'm at a different place. So my goals have shifted and my holdings have shifted. So I'll communicate exactly where I'm at and where they're at. And the reason that I'm calling them is because I want to learn. When I was starting, I had 2 duplexes. I just bought a duplex across the street from Cody's 6-plex. Cody was 20 years old with 30 units. So I was still trying to figure out his game. But Cody's like, well, just talk to the people. Stop trying to find the deals. So I called someone who had a 12-plex down the street. And the call, even though I butchered, I wasn't good yet at all. I had no skills. I just called and said, hey, I'm a property neighbor. I was calling to meet fellow neighbors. And I said it awkwardly, and they're like, okay. I'm like, so anyway,
Right.
I have 2 duplexes now. I realized buying duplexes isn't going to get me to my goal. I want to retire my wife. So there's communicating your goal. I want to know how you bought this 12-plex because I'm trying to scale to bigger real estate. And the response was, well, I'm not selling. I actually had no money. I didn't have money left over. I spent it all on my house and 2 duplexes. I had some real estate, but I wanted to take it to the next level. So that's exactly what we did. I asked them, hey, I'm in town. Can I meet with you to discuss how you got to where you're at? And as soon as money was off the table, they just taught me how they got to where they're at.
Their guard was down and they're willing to share information, right? It's the old adage of ask for money, you're going to get advice. Ask for advice and you'll probably get both, right? Money and advice down the road. And so I think that's amazing. One of the, just to summarize that, of you get to the table with someone and you share your goals, right? And then people want to get behind other people's goals because that's very fulfilling, right? Mm-hmm. So when they hear you guys say, hey, I want to get advice, it's like, yeah, I'll share advice and how I got to where I'm at. And then you start talking about your goals. And then automatically the human nature is, how do I help Cody and Christian accomplish those goals? And so I love that.
You also have to establish trust. I mean, that's the thing that most people miss. And the quickest way to build trust is to get a takeaway from someone, apply it, make it work, and let them know that it worked.
Right.
That is the simplest form of building trust on planet Earth. You get a takeaway from someone, you make it happen, you let them know that it worked and it pushed you forward.
You did that with the roofs on that 12-plex.
Yeah, the guy
who's story.
Yeah, he sold me my first building in Moses Lake. It was 12-plex. He's like, look, you can redo the roofs. They were butterfly roofs, so it's like flat except for to a valley, which makes it even worse. Terrible design. He's like, you can redo it. You can do the torch down. However, if you save up more money, it's going to cost you, an extra $80,000 to $100,000. You can take it to trusses. Like, I don't have any money. It's like, I know, but if you do it, that'd be cool. And so 2 years later, I did that. And I took it private, got a cash out refi in second position and used that to do the roof project. And then he opened up his whole portfolio and said, look, I'll sell you everything I have. You did what I said.
Wow.
And he has a lot.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. He's an 8-figure guy. I mean, big player.
And so the benefit that come from that could be years coming. So let's transition now. One of the other things that we've been talking about is partnerships, right?
Yeah.
And you guys have been partners for 12 months. You guys have both had partners in the past that were really bad, stole hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? I've been through 3 partnerships since, college, right? So there's a lot to unpack there. And most people getting started in real estate are always thinking, I need a partner, right? When you're getting started, it's like, I need help. I can't do it all on my own. I need a partner. So give me your advice on what you guys have learned being in bad partnerships and what you guys are applying to your current partnership. Because you guys are like brothers, right? You guys have a great chemistry.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah. Well, the first thing is there's no such thing as an even partnership. And I see most people get stuck exactly there. Like when you actually have a good partnership, like you have a great person like Cody, where we get together really well, we get along, we have very similar goals. There's things that Cody is just better than I. Like math, for example, you can instantly do math in your head, which makes you a better negotiator because you can say yes to a deal in 4 or less seconds. You can run all the math.
That's one of those deals.
Yeah, that is one of those deals where someone calls and Cody goes, yes, we're going to do that. Write it up. I need 10 minutes to go let me grab my napkin.
Calculator in 10 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, I can do it fast, but I can't do it that fast.
Right.
Cody brings special value. There's some nights where I was like, I have to do our tax stuff. And so Cody's on a kayak and I'm
with the seals.
Yeah, with the seals at
next
our
to the
resort.
gates. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm here just doing taxes. Is that fun? No. You go into a partnership realizing, hey, we have the similar goals. We're both going to give it 100%. But it's never going to be even. There's going to be seasons where Cody is just working harder than I am because that's the season we're in.
And I did a lot of that before I even met Christian. A lot of the foundation was laid in the 2 years before we partnered.
We built the company on the 2 years of building this method. Like I met you taught me how to do this. We banded together and marketed it and branded it and created what we created. But this is built off of 2 years of Cody driving to Moses Lake in a beat up Miata for 2 years.
And we wouldn't be here had we not partnered, to take it full circle. Like we need to, in order to scale, we had to work together because we started our consulting company way back when. And I actually had a consultation in person with one of Brandon Turner's friends. He's like, this is really cool. And so he shot a little email over and we got on BiggerPockets.
Wow.
So
and that's how
to
you
take
guys
it full
got on
circle.
BiggerPockets. Wow. Cool.
But we didn't have a consulting company like before we partnered because we were just hanging out and I had an idea in the morning. I was like, we should do this.
So by lunch, we started a company.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, I'm excited to watch you guys grow. I mean, I think you guys have something really unique, really special. And just the empathy and the self-awareness of, what has happened in previous partnerships and what you guys are trying to do to make this one different, I think is really impactful and really special. So now let's get to a topic that we talked about a lot last night at dinner, and this is really fascinating stuff because most people that come on the show have done a lot of syndications or funds, right? And one of the first things out of Cody's mouth last night was,
syndication sucks.
syndications suck. And I'm like, what did he just say?
They both start with S for a reason.
Yeah, to the syndicator who just invited us out.
Yeah, appreciate dinner.
That's paying for dinner? Yeah.
Yeah, appreciate dinner. Owner financing is outstanding. Syndication
Right.
sucks.
So unpack for me. So that's a bold statement, right? It's a bold statement.
Yeah.
And I actually think you have some validity behind it, right? So let's talk about the 3 or 4 things that you guys, or reasons why, in your minds, syndications maybe is inferior, and in your words, suck, compared to what you guys are doing with creative financing. So walk me through those.
Let's talk about it as tools in a tool belt for a second. If you're a hammer, everything's a nail. And the problem, it's not just the fact that syndication sucks. Like, that's not the problem. It's the problem is syndicators just stick to that model.
Mm-hmm.
They are just a hammer and every deal is just a nail.
Mm-hmm.
A hammer doesn't fix everything. You can break a lot of things with it and you can put some things together, but it doesn't do all of the deals. And so my thought was, how do we find a model that works in any market condition, regardless of price? Because part of syndication is you have to nail your price because then you got to be able to go get the debt. So you can hit your IRRs and you can get your 115.8% IRRs, right? I mean,
that's pretty solid.
That's
pretty solid.
That's really solid.
You're doing stellar deals.
Yeah, don't buy bad deals. But there's a lot of bad operators out there, which makes it very difficult. And Christian can talk about that. But a lot of people want to be investors and not operators. And they're like, oh, I'm just going to sign this piece of paper, sell a whole bunch of people into my fund, and then I'll buy it. I'll go get my fee. And that violates principles.
And that's part, you said there's a lot of syndicators on the show. That's part of the problem is it's something that a lot of people have flocked to. And when everyone's doing it, everyone's looking at the same deals with the same lens, with the same tools. Everyone has their hammer, looking at things the same way. A problem with syndication is you're getting bank debt typically, which means you're going after price. And that is the only thing you can negotiate on. And you have everyone in the room trying to beat up price, competing for the same deals. There's a lot of people who aren't good at syndicating, aren't good at real estate math, that are raising capital and losing people's money. We had a client who I won't name, but he'd lost 7 figures in the last year because he placed a bunch of money with syndicators.
Wow.
And every single, he spread it over like 5 deals.
Wow.
And every deal lost money.
Right.
I don't love that.
Yeah, no, I don't love that either, especially coming out of the hottest real estate market that we've seen in the last 20, 30 years. So, to summarize, and I think there's some real meat here, right? Yeah. So to summarize this, what I heard was lack of creativity, right? Everything's a nail, right? So syndications, in your mind, are inferior, lack of creativity, watered down, right? Because everyone's doing it. So the amount of volume, right, that's doing it, everyone looking at things the same way, it gets watered down. So lack of creativity gets watered down. And I think number 3, what I'm hearing is, because there are so many syndicators, they're really great at marketing and raising money, but not great at operations, right? So syndicators maybe doesn't translate to operations, which is how you get returns.
Yeah.
Is that accurate?
100%. And the story is worth less. Like, the story when you're doing deals should always be worth more than the real estate.
Yeah.
And they put the real estate first.
Right.
The story behind being a syndication, doing that type of deal, it's like, oh, cool, everybody does it. It's watered down. It's a red ocean, not a blue ocean. Meaning there's a whole bunch of sharks in the water. It's hard to make that pitch and have it be significant. It's one thing to share a story. It's another thing for it to land and be significant. And
totally.
So we want our story to always be the forefront. It's like the story, the relationship, the contacts that we made will always be worth more than any piece of real estate we buy.
Yeah.
And as we buy more real estate, the story gets bigger and it allows you to do new things. That's actually one thing. There's a syndicator who's done it pretty well. If you watch Cardone, I would argue the way he tells his story is worth more than all the real estate he buys. He is just very good at telling people, this is what I'm doing, this is why I'm doing it, this is how I'm doing it.
Yeah, and you can replace story with brand, right? His brand is worth billions of dollars now, and maybe that's worth more than the real estate itself. So, just to play devil's advocate, right? Coming, my context coming from someone that owned deals directly, right? So just myself, my brother, some friends, no syndication, no fund, no private money, but we did have bank debt, right? Yep. So had direct private ownership. Had an incredible run there, flipped a bunch of property, single family homes, and bought multifamily. And then that's when the light bulb went off of, man, multifamily, that magic formula of every dollar of NOI is worth $20 in value at a 5 cap. That is life-changing stuff. So when that light bulb went off for me in 2019, I was basically like, well, how do I scale? How do I see all this opportunity, I have all these relationships, all this deal flow. I have construction systems and process figured out. I have property management systems and process figured out. How do I take advantage of this incredible opportunity? And in my mind, everything that I looked out, before I met you guys was, I can pool other investors' capital with my own and go scale much faster than I can do it on my own, right? And so in the last 2 years, we've bought roughly $200 million in real estate that I couldn't have done on my own, right? So I think the flip side of this is syndication gives you scale. And then the second thing it's allowed me to do is hire A players, right? Because of the ability to generate income from doing deals, doing great deals at the right terms, it's allowed me to hire an incredible team of people. So I just think, playing devil's advocate, like, I totally see where you guys are coming from, but what would you say to that? Like, if you want to scale, right? $200 million in 2 years is not, I mean, it's decent. It's not Grant Cardone, but it's decent. And then it's allowed me, you guys met some of the people here. I mean, we've hired some A+ players, right? Thoughts?
Yeah. To finish the sentence that you shared, you couldn't have done it on your own with the resources that you had.
Right.
And we've done deals 4.5% down, 3% interest, non-recourse. And so it's...
Say those terms again?
4.5% down. And this was our Seattle.
So on a $1 million property, 4.5% down. So you put $45,000 down on $1 million property, which is like unheard of.
Yeah, we bought it for $1.1 million, $50,000 down.
Got it.
So right in there. 3% interest, non-recourse debt. Some people are like, that's impossible to get. I'm like, well, obviously not.
They also said you can't do seller financing in Seattle.
So we did. And and then they said, well, you can't do bigger deals that are class, A-, class B+. So we bought a resort that was built by Don Beckman, who partnered with Walt Disney. We just did what people said couldn't be done. It's hard to play the game if you don't know the resources are available. If you played the game with the creative finance piece, you add another tool to the tool belt, you could do that. If you have the systems. If you want to just scale, you have to do the systems anyway. So if you're going to do it anyway, go for it. For us, we wanted to set out and do 20 million, pay it off. 50 million, pay it off. And in the meantime, we're only doing non-recourse debt. We are paying everything off and then not relevering the stuff that we've built because we don't want to lose it.
Right.
In your case, if you want to scale up, talk about scaling. Cardone said the same thing when I did my little one-on-one with him. He said it's going to be difficult to scale. I'm like, yeah, it's difficult to play the game anyway. Let's find a way to make it work.
Right.
So
and you guys are definitely doing that. I mean, I love what you guys are doing. I think we're going to go look at a building right now that I'm actually ironically working on a seller financing. So, I mean, I'm always learning. And this is what the point of the show is. I want the audience to be able to learn from the top people in the country. Yeah. You guys are definitely that. I mean, you guys are cutting edge, on the forefront of new innovative ways to finance deals in an extremely difficult market. So I think this is going to hit home to a lot of different people all around the country of like how to do deals when banks no longer make the most sense. So what are some ways, I know you guys have a coaching program, you guys have a YouTube. What's the best way for people to get a hold of you guys and engage with you?
Yeah, it would probably be our YouTube channel, Cody and Christian Multifamily Strategy. We're also on Instagram. Christian responds to more of those. I've got a lot to get through.
If you guys want to check out our online course, you can. It's themultifamilystrategy.com.
Cool. Very cool. Thank you guys for being here. It was amazing. I can't wait to go check out this deal with you guys. And hopefully this is the start of a long relationship.
Let's do it.
Thanks, guys.